And now the news. And this week, China leans on tradition, your next luxury taxi, and bad news for elderly BMW fans. China has done a great job in reinventing itself when it comes to cars. While most cars coming out of the country, in my opinion, still look quite bland, there's no doubt that we're a long way off the days of them making blatant copies of things like the Mini Cooper and the BMW X5. Well, history and tradition are really important in the Middle Kingdom, and SAIC is making sure we don't forget that. Appearing online recently as a one-to-one blatant copy of the Porsche Taycan, the SAIC Z7 and Z7T have come to remind us that the words copyright infringement don't translate very well into Mandarin. These cars will be officially unveiled on the 31st of March and were developed in collaboration with Huawei. It seems that much like the cheap Chinese knockoffs of yore, this car will be aimed squarely at its European rival, but at a fraction of the cost. The difference these days, though, is that you can't laugh this off as some papier-mâché car that will arrive with a loose bumper and 2 AA batteries in the glove box. No, this car will bring the best combo that China has to offer: European styling, price-appropriate quality, and some of the best EV tech in the world. The car is expected to have 517 horsepower and 700 Nm of torque, with a range of around 700 km on the Chinese efficiency cycle. That'll allow it to hit 100 km an hour in 3.9 seconds with no word on a top speed. The biggest news though is the price. While a standard Taycan with nothing on it starts around £88,000, the Z7 is expected to cost between £28,000 and £38,000, not adjusting for local pricing. This is a bold step by SAIC, given they've already been developing a few vehicles with the VAG group, and have now made it clear they've been stealing their homework too. But with European OEMs needing local partnerships in order to get the Chinese market interested in their products again, it's very possible that non-Chinese manufacturers already aren't in a position to do anything about this. In great news for luxury taxi services, Mercedes-Benz has officially unveiled the all-new electric VLE. The VLE is designed to bridge the gap between a luxury limousine and a versatile multi-purpose vehicle. Being electric, it's important to note that it has a drag coefficient of just 0.25, allowing its rich passengers to slip through the air just like they'll slip on the baby oil later that night. Under the hood, or rather the floor, is a new 115 kWh battery utilizing 800 volt technology. This setup allows the VLE 300 electric to achieve an expected range of over 700 kilometers. Charging is equally rapid, with the ability to add 355 kilometers of range in just 15 minutes at high-performance DC stations, perfect for making sure you don't have to turn down that next Uber request. The lineup will launch with the VLE 300, followed by a dual-motor VLE 400 4MATIC, producing over 300 kilowatts. This performance version can sprint from 0 to 100 kph in 6.5 seconds, which, considering the F1 drivers who've driven my most recent Ubers, means if you see VLE 400 on the back, just take the cancellation fee and rebook. Handling is enhanced by Airmatic air suspension, which can raise or lower the body by 40 mm, great for the roads around Heathrow which still haven't recovered from World War II. Additionally, 7-degree rear axle steering gives this large vehicle a turning circle of just 10.9 meters. Inside, the VLE can be configured with 5 to 8 seats, including the roll and go manual system or the remote variable rear space electric system. The electric seats can be adjusted via a smartphone app in what Mercedes cornily calls a seat ballet. The digital experience is centered around the MBUX superscreen, which spans the entire width of the cockpit. Rear passengers have access to an optional 31.3-inch panoramic screen with 8K resolution that retracts into the headliner. The entire system is being powered by the new Mercedes-Benz operating system, or MB.OS, featuring an AI virtual assistant, because apparently having a driver lecture you on the benefits of the Taliban regime isn't already enough talking. No jokes, that really happened to me one time. Practicality remains a priority, with towing capacity of up to 2.5 tons and dual electric sliding doors. For those needing cargo space, removing the rear seats opens up a total volume of 4,078 liters.
Look at all this floor space! So much aerobics in here. So many activities.
Mercedes-Benz positions the VLE as a grand limousine, intended for families, leisure enthusiasts, and exclusive shuttle services. But let's be honest, we all know who's going to get the bulk of those. The van was unveiled to the world earlier this month and will go on sale either next year or in 2028. I'm going to irritate some BMW people here and say I completely forgot that SAIC Schnitzer existed. But then again, apparently so did they, because the company is shutting down. The company has been in existence since 1987, providing custom parts for BMW, Mini and Land Rover for nearly 40 years. But with the world moving on, ACS is being left behind. The managing director, Rainer Vogel, has blamed the German government, increases in production of parts, electric vehicles and even young people for its failure. He forgot to mention the war in Iran, but hey, this press release has probably been sitting in drafts for a little while already. Fleshing out the excuses a bit, he noted the following. The German government needs to approve aftermarket parts, meaning a wait of up to 9 months from a part's creation to its release. This puts them at a massive disadvantage compared to non-German rivals. Increases in production parts are pretty self-explanatory, I guess. No doubt they were undone because they needed more RAM and hard drives for their PCs. Next on the list is electric vehicles, which is a convenient excuse, but I guess it does hold some weight. BMW's EV market share is pretty small, I just want to point that out, but nevertheless, I'll bite. EVs don't have exhausts, so there's a few sales down the drain already. EVs generally have special wheels to help reduce drag, and we can lump bumpers and body kits in here too, because it stands to reason you don't want to make your range worse. Quick interjection. Weirdly, even in an age where you have EV batteries matching petrol tanks for range, people still have range anxiety. I may not be the biggest fan of EVs, but it's silly to ignore the fact that objectively they're as good as, if not better than, many ICE cars now. And with that in mind, range just isn't a problem anymore. Lastly, on the product side, you obviously can't tune an EV like you can a petrol-powered vehicle, meaning that tuning products aren't adaptable to EVs either. So yeah, an EV is a complete non-starter for them. The last excuse is young people. I actually take offense to this because even though I'm probably not in the age bracket that Mr. Vogel is blaming here, I do sympathize with the people he's targeting. Saying kids these days aren't buying performance parts like their parents used to is like saying kids these days aren't buying houses like their parents used to. Yes, because there's no money to do so. A car is enough of an investment before you add the cost of performance parts. And with rising levels of unemployment, cost of living being through the roof, and a general feeling of unease about the future amongst these young people who are, quote,
part of the problem,
of course they're not going to buy your fancy performance parts. Sorry, I get a bit annoyed when people blame young people just because they exist. Anyway, to wrap this up, it's been noted that several companies have expressed interest in buying the company from Cole, its owner, but that regardless of the outcome, SAIC Schnitzer will sell off all existing inventory by the end of the year. Existing warranties will be honored beyond the end of the year for the customers who are apparently all over 50. To end this off, I do hope the company and the brand continue, but if not, I feel like they can be proud of building a company that outlasted so many others in its nearly half a century of life. Porsche is continuing to raise my blood pressure by joining in on all the fakery we see in modern cars. This comes in the form of an automatic gearbox with a manual shift lever. It's still a patent application at this point, so it's not guaranteed to find its way onto new cars, but it is still concerning. The technology itself is nothing new, having first appeared on the Koenigsegg CC850 a few years ago. The one subtle difference here is that Porsche won't be including a clutch pedal. The gearbox will be able to work in both manual and auto modes, theoretically giving the best of both worlds, with traffic jams and open backroads equally catered for. How this will sit with enthusiasts is anyone's guess though. Personally, even though my Porsche collection is limited to that of a die-cast 924 I got as a gift nearly 30 years ago, I don't like this. There's no argument that manuals are dying. People want their comfy commuter cars, and those do make up the bulk of new vehicle sales, the kind of car that obviously leans itself towards an automatic. So it's hard to justify a manual when you know that even the model you're developing it for won't sell exclusively with a gated shifter. But it saddens me to see that a company that is stuck with the manual gearbox, who is one of the few willing to put some profit on the line for this cause, is developing something that takes away from the essence of what a manual gearbox is. Everyone who drives a manual knows that objectively it's worse. It's slower for racing, it's worse on fuel, and it's a pain on the way to the office. But that is the point. It's supposed to not be as good. It's supposed to feel mechanical and sometimes a bit clunky. I do have a wider piece that I want to do on this, but I worry that the industry has gotten so concerned with perfection that they've forgotten that the best cars are the ones that are imperfect. Will this gearbox let me grind a gear? No, because the links under the shifter are all electric. Will it allow me to slip the clutch? No, there isn't even a clutch pedal. That also answers the question I had about whether it'll let me stall the car too. And I think that's what's not realized here. You build connection to a car by learning its intricacies, by understanding how to perform an action with it, and why you do it that way. By creating this gearbox, you manufacture perfection into what is supposed to be an imperfect system. And through that, I feel you remove yet another piece of what makes a car truly special, its soul. It's been a minute since we had an airbag recall, but we're back. This time, a range of Audis are suffering from similar issues to other cars from that era. The A3, A3 Cabrio, A4 Cabrio, A5 and Q5 could inflate their driver's airbag too aggressively and, like so many before them, turn into hand grenades. Get them fixed before your cabriolet decides to perform a JFK tribute. Staying with VAG, if you have a T-Roc, then your VAG might not be properly screwed. Tie rods on the T-Roc may not be properly screwed after they were shoved into the hole of the wheel bearing housing. If it pulls out unexpectedly, you could lose steering on that wheel and unsurprisingly hit a tree. This week's battery fire is brought to you by the Renault 5. The current darling of the motoring world might suffer a short circuit in its battery due to a manufacturing defect and, as mentioned, catch fire. It's funny how recalls show you which cars are actually the same underneath. The Peugeot 208 and 2008, as well as the Vauxhall Corsa, Frontera, and Mokka, all have an issue where electrics are too close to things that shouldn't be electrified. If water gets in and causes an arc, the car could catch fire. A rare entry in this segment, Ferrari 12 cilindri
Listen properly.
cars have tint that's too dark. This could mean reduced visibility at night, so it's harder to tell if the car is just driving by or you're about to get whacked. The seats in Hyundai Palisades and Kia Tellurides could maim occupants in creative ways. The seats don't stop when they contact a person, like they're supposed to, so if the seat starts to fold flat, get out the way before it folds you flat with it. Okay, Ford section. Did you know the Ford Maverick is actually a convertible? Well, neither did the people whose Mavericks lost their moonroof while driving down the highway. Turns out this is a bug, not a feature, and Ford will do what they do best and recall affected models. Certain Explorer, Nautilus, Navigator, and Aviator models could lose their ADAS functionality. This also extends to the rearview camera. If it happens often enough, the whole system could fail permanently. Furthermore, the Explorer and Aviator might not have their second row seat belts attached correctly to the body. Have you ever seen what it looks like when an unsecured passenger in the second row is in an accident? Yeah, go have that fixed. And to end off the Ford show, basically every Super Duty has an issue where the fuel pump could fail when running on biodiesel. Apparently this was fixed by a software update, except the update didn't fix the issue, so now another update is being deployed. Expectations are low, but we hold thumbs nonetheless. And that is the end of the news.